Welcome to STARS Launch Pod, where we chat with innovators who are overcoming challenges, pushing boundaries, and collaborating to make space more accessible and sustainable for humanity, one launch at a time.
It's one small step for man.
Here's your host, Susan Wise.
Welcome to STARS Launch Pod, Space, Technology, and Research Sciences. I'm your host, Susan Wise. And joining us is Dr. Jamie Foster, professor at the University of Florida's Department of Microbiology and Cell Sciences Space Life Science Lab. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your program. It's exciting to be here.
Well, we are certainly honored to have you with us. And tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Right. So, as you mentioned, I'm a professor at the University of Florida, but my research lab is actually located at the Kennedy Space Center. We're in a place called the Space Life Sciences Lab, and we really try to understand how humans, how animals, and the microbes that we bring with us, how they thrive and exist in the space environment, and how do all the stresses of being in space affect our health. And that's kind of a major area that I've been looking at and that we look at here at the Space Life Sciences Lab.
That's exciting. And also how it affects you, not just here on Earth, but maybe not on Earth, maybe
Yeah,
Mars or
maybe the
somewhere
moon
else.
or the Mars. Yeah, we're definitely looking outward. We don't, we think we're going to eventually become a multi-planet society or species. So we are working hard here at the University of Florida to try to prepare humanity for living beyond our biosphere, whether that, and I imagine the first few steps will be at the moon and then Mars, and then who knows where else.
Wow, that's it. What prepared you for this? Some of your background.
Oh, really, honestly, a healthy dose of science fiction and curiosity. I grew up watching Star Trek and all the
Ditto.
science fiction. Yeah, yeah, live long and prosper. And it really just inspired me. And also, I must say, when I was in the early 1980s, when I was a little kid, Carl Sagan's Cosmos program.
Hmm.
Um, and we had a black and white television at the time. So to be inspired by a black and white, pictures of the universe, it really got me curious and interested in science. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. And so that my career then kind of meandered around science, but with always trying I always wanted to be an astronaut, but and maybe someday we will, because it's getting more and more people are going to space. But I was like, if I can't be an astronaut, at least maybe my science can get to space. And so that's kind of how I kept working towards this goal of working in the field of space sciences and space biology.
So, what are you working on maybe currently right now to help further the space industry?
Right now, I have two major projects that I'm trying to work on. One is, and this sounds a little funny, but I'm sending Squid to space. And the reason we're doing that is this particular squid I work on, it's called the bobtail squid. It has a special organ in its body that bacteria colonize. And it makes a great model for understanding how microbes kind of like how they start a conversation with an animal, how they continue that conversation and maintain it, and how eventually does that microbe help maintain the health of that animal in response to stress like microgravity or radiation and things like that. So the project I'm doing is working on these little squid as models for understanding of how microbes and animals communicate and respond to environmental stress like space flight. So that's one project I'm working on. The other is to use as we do hope to go to the moon and beyond, we realize that it is just too expensive to take everything with us. There are no Home Depots, there's no Walmart halfway to Mars, right? So we have to be
Hmm.
super creative and be able to make things on demand as we need them. So, what we're trying to do in my lab is to use microbes as kind of the engines to make all these products that we need. So, through and genetic engineering, we can
Okay.
make microbes to make therapeutics, vitamins, nutrients that we may need that could be added to your smoothie or added, add little supplements or purified so that you don't have to. Well, the other thing too is that if you have a pharmacy in space, those products don't last forever. There's a shelf life. So
Right.
if you need things on demand, you may need a little more steroid or topical pharmaceutical product on your way to Mars. Microbes might be able to make those products for you. And so we are trying to work on using synthetic biology to engineer microbes to make things for us as we travel. Now, that could be a health
Wow.
product or it could be a material. There's also
Hmm.
microbes. We have another researcher here at the University of Florida working on using microbes to degrade plastics and help deconstruct those the trash bags and the waste products that all the food currently is stored in. So not only
Well,
can
that
they
would be
make health,
fabulous for right here
right?
on Earth.
Yeah, and that's the underlying message is that yes, I'm trying to keep an astronaut alive so that they can go to and from Mars, but
Hmm.
all that technology, all that investment helps us here on Earth. Because we do have a plastic problem. We do have, there's shelf life problems,
Hmm.
in pharmaceuticals. And if you're in a remote location on the planet, maybe you don't have the resources to truck in um, pharmaceuticals whenever you need them. Maybe you can make them on demand. So this concept of on-demand manufacturing, we hope will
Hmm.
spread here on Earth, even though our reason for doing a lot of that is space travel.
I love that. Have you had an aha moment, like sometime during your career, where just a moment you were like, "Yes, this is it."
Just being a part of the space program is so exciting. I mean, when I got to do one of my first space flight experiments and, I being here at the Kennedy Space Center, I see a lot of rocket launches. But the
Hmm.
joy of actually getting to see, your work, I mean, it took us, like, 10 years to get this. I just
Wow.
going from idea to actually, lighting the
Hmm.
rocket and letting it go off, igniting it. So, that watching that, rocket launch go was just so exciting, and then the outcomes of that experiment where we were really showing that how important microbes are
Hmm.
for maintaining our health and how they can be used to help keep us um um balanced, so that we don't get sick. Microbes are so important for us to not get sick.
Hmm.
And when that disbalance goes awry, then opportunistic microbes can come in. So that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, all this is paying off, that was just such a really nice, maybe not aha moment, but definitely satisfying. It's like, okay, I just want to, it's like when you run a marathon, right? When you're like, "Why am I doing this?" And then finally when you finish the marathon, you're like, "Oh, I wanna do that again. That was so exciting." So, it's kinda this is my marathon.
And I agree. I lived in Florida for many years, so if you ever get a chance to go to see one of the launches, I highly recommend it. It's very
Oh, it's
moving and
exciting. Yeah, very
yeah,
exciting.
very exciting. Um, Jamie, what's one of your biggest challenges that you've had, and how did you overcome it?
I think, one of the challenges maybe I'm gonna go back to the space flight. Here was just this kid who had an idea about, sending squid to space. Okay, how crazy is that? And just getting people to, like, listen to you and say, well, that is the craziest idea I've ever heard, and good luck with that," but taking all the little steps and being persistent to, not o when you see an opportunity, making sure that you take that opportunity.
Hmm.
That was something that is is challenging, to believe in your own idea, enough that you're just gonna be persistent, and if someone shoots your idea down, if you believe in that idea, that you keep going with it. And like I said earlier, it took 10 years from this idea. I was a student when I had this idea for this project. And and then finally I was an associate professor at a university by the time it finally launched into space. So, you just have to believe in yourself and you have to just believe in your ideas and just keep keep persisting with those ideas. And so for me, that was the biggest challenge of like believing in yourself and just keep going,
Hmm.
but it paid off.
I love hearing this. Is there a way that, general public can follow you and, you know, kind of follow along with what you're doing?
Join me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I am also an assistant director at the Australia Space Institute. And what I would really suggest is, it's one thing to hear about squid, but the University of Florida does so many amazing things of sending plant. Like we just had an experiment go up last week. We have another experiment being prepped for over at the Kennedy Space Center for plant research. So I would suggest people go to the Astraeus, and that is Astraeus, Astraeus, the Greek god of the stars and the planets, the Space Institute at the University of Florida, and there are so many fun, exciting events happening, ways to get involved and be a part and just follow along. We do public events all the time where you get to meet us crazy space scientists and engage yourself. So you can either go online or if you're in the Gainesville area, come visit us.
You have a piece of advice before we wrap up that you would like to share with our listeners?
I think the advice is trust yourself, trust your instincts, and do your homework when it comes to these ideas. Make sure there's such an enormous body of literature out there so that you have to vet your ideas. And you may have that great idea, but you got to do a lot of homework to make sure it's rooted in fact and science or whatever area you're trying to pursue. But it can happen, and if you can make your these little ideas happen and go big, literally big, like
You're
space
like,
big.
see that? My little squid are on that shuttle right there.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
so
name them,
every
do you? You don't name them.
no, no, we don't, um, but I will say that every time I take a friend over, friends come, family comes visit, and I get to go to
Hmm.
the Kennedy Space Center with them, and I see the Space Shuttle Atlantis, and I'm like, "Oh, Squid, we're on that," and then now they've gone to the International Space Station, so there's no telling, and my microbes now have gone to the space station 5 times, so it's just
Wow.
really exciting, and I it never gets old. So when you find something you really like, you just gotta work hard at it and be the best at that as you can be.
Great advice. Dr. Jamie Foster, thank you so much for joining us on LaunchPod.
Sure, it's been great. Thank you so much.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and also please subscribe. And until next time, keep looking up. Thank you.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on social media. Stars LaunchPod, propelling us forward, one launch at a time.